This is how my firm helped an event planner charge back expenses to clients in QuickBooks Online. This event planner has a business where he helps clients with sourcing vendors and suppliers for various events. In some cases, he underestimates how much an event will cost and ends up paying for expenses out of pocket. Over time, this eats up the profits of the business. The event planner wanted us to find a way to charge expenses back to clients in QuickBooks. He hired us to help. QuickBooks Online has a feature that allows clients to charge back expenses to customers. The feature has to be first turned on. Once turned on, a column will be populated for all bills and expenses to charge back expenses or bills to customers. Here is how we implemented this process. First, we turned on the Billable Expense feature. From the gear icon, click Company Settings, then click Expenses. Under Bills and Expenses, first turn on the Track Expense and Items by Customer option. Next, turn on Make Expenses and Items Billable. Once turned on, you will notice a few options. The first is an option to mark up billable expenses or bills with a markup rate. The second is to track the billable expenses and items as income. None of these options need to be ticked for the feature to work properly. The Track Billable Expense and Items as Income option only sets a default account to track your billable expenses. If left unchecked, billable expenses will be tracked to a default income account called Billable Expense Income. You can change default income account by going to the Advanced menu, Chart of Accounts, and under Billable Expense Income account, change the account to an income account of your choice. Note that this account can still be changed when creating the actual billable expense invoice. We leave this checkbox unticked to prevent any confusion. Now we are ready to create a billable invoice. Once a bill or expense is created, an option to mark the expense or bill as billable appears along with the customer to bill it to. There's a 3-step process to successfully charge back an expense to a client. These steps can be summarized as marking the bill as billable, configuring the accounts for the chargeback, and converting the chargeback to an invoice to send to the client or customer. First, we mark the bill as billable and select the customer to charge back to. If you have multiple line items, you can designate each item as billable and choose the appropriate customer it should be charged back to. When done, click Save. You will now see a View button next to each billable item on the bill or expense. This brings us to the second step, configuring the accounts for the chargeback. If you are using the default settings for chargebacks as explained at the beginning of this video, you will not need to change anything here. If not, this is the time to choose which accounts and markup for each chargeback. Note that the account you use does not have to be an income account. However, it is best practice to use an income account. When done adjusting the settings, click Done. This will create a billable expense to the customer or customers you marked as billable. Note that the invoice for the chargeback has not yet been created or recorded in QuickBooks. The final step is to convert the billable expenses to an invoice. Navigate to the customers that you created billable expenses for. You will notice that each of the items you marked as billable are ready to be converted into actual invoices. Click Create Invoice next to one of the billable expense charges to convert it into an invoice. QuickBooks will link the chargeback to the invoice you just created, as well as add any attachments from the original bill to the invoice. Caution: care must be taken when adding a product service at this stage. If you add a product or service, you have to make sure the account associated with the product or service is the same as the billable expense income account you chose in step 2. If not, the account for the billable expense will change to the account associated with the product or service you choose here. However, you can leave this product or service section blank if you do not want to change the income account you chose in step 2. Now add a description for the chargeback and adjust the amount or keep it the same based on your preference. If you have multiple chargeback items for the same client, they will be listed on the right-hand side of the invoice page. Simply click Add under the billable expense to add it to the open invoice. You can add as much billable expenses to a single invoice for each customer. You can also add sales items unrelated to chargebacks as new line items as if you were issuing a regular invoice. Once you are satisfied with the invoice, you can save and send it to the client for payment. And that was how we helped an event planner charge back expenses to clients in QuickBooks Online. If you are a growing business in Canada looking to take your business to the next level, you need a bookkeeping service to help you. Visit paperlessbooks.ca for a free consult or click the link in the bio.